Is what leads to revolution? Now, there are many factors that lead to revolution, but the biggest and most obvious thing that leads to revolution is change. Now, take the colonists for example. Their basic rights are being taken away from them, and they needed to change. The second thing that leads to revolution is oppression. Now, oppression can be put on people by two factors. One, it can be put on by political issues, and this is most of the time the case. This is why most revolutions happen, is because of political issues. The second one could be technology, because technology is rolling too fast and people can't keep up with the new technology, and they feel like they are being oppressed with this new technology that's being bombarded at them and they are being hit up with all this new technology, and they don't know what to do with it. So they feel like they're trapped and they need to get out. The third thing that leads to a revolution is a leader. There needs to be a leader that takes charge during a time of revolution. If you don't have a leader, you don't have a revolution. We need somebody to tell us what to do and how to do it. So in order for a successful revolution to happen, we have to have a leader step in. Let's take the Civil War, for example. Abraham Lincoln took charge during the American Civil War. He didn't want a revolution at first, but he decided that if his country was going to go to war, that he was going to step up to the plate and be the leader. Now look at him. He was one of the greatest leaders that we know today. The answer to that question is yes. These same 6 elements that lead to political revolutions also lead to industrial revolutions. The thing is, technological revolutions go along with political revolutions. They go hand in hand. As politics go into revolution, technology does too. Really simply for the fact that revolutions usually involve a war. And what do you need to win a war? Well, the answer to that is good technology. Also, if a country's economy is failing because of political revolution, inventors are going to find a way to boost the economy. If the economy is strong, there's a better chance your side is going to win. Oftentimes, after political revolution, a technological revolution will happen, mainly because revolutions bring on change, and they bring new ideas. It is almost as if you were wiping a slate clean. So let's take the Industrial Revolution for an example. The Industrial Revolution happened between 1760 and 1830. Now, if we take a look on the historic timeline, the Industrial Revolution started about the time the American Revolution ended, and the American Revolution ended about the time the Civil War was picking up. Both these revolutions aided in the start of the Industrial Revolution. The steam engine was invented in the late 1700s after the American Revolution. The steam engine was made to suck water out of mines. Mining became big after the American Revolution, mostly for the fact that since America broke away from England, we needed money to sustain ourselves. But what better way to do that than mining for natural resources? Everybody in the world was looking for gold and different kinds of natural resources at the time. Foreign countries would pay anything to get their hands on any kind of natural resources. Therefore, the steam engine was an effect of the American Revolution. The demand for miners was huge, and companies could not have their production slowed down by water in the mines. So the steam engine was invented to eliminate the problem of having to manually get the water out of the mines. They used to have to use a pulley system attached to animals and take buckets full of water from the mines to put them on the pulley system. That was expensive for bosses and companies because they had to pay for the miners' labor and for the animals they used. The power loom was invented in 1785 in England. This was only a couple years after the American Revolution had ended. Food for thought. Did Edmund Cartwright invent the power loom because he wanted to try to make his broken society better? I mean, you have to think politically where England is at this point. They really did not have that well off of an economy. They're in quite a bit of debt. I believe Mr. Cartwright was trying to invent something that would help his country politically after the war, as well as give them hope. He was basically saying, our country may be in debt, but we can still have some good ideas and inventions come out of this broken country. The power loom was a wonderful invention. It helped textile factories up their production. Instead of a piece of clothing taking a week to be finished, the power loom would sew all of the clothes together, and it would take only about half a week to finish the clothes. With better production, businesses could hire more workers, boosting the economy. The more people employed, the better the circulation of money becomes. It is a continuous cycle. Eventually, the power loom was perfected by Francis Cabot in 1813. I believe Francis Cabot realized what an asset the power loom would bring to their own country. America was also still recovering from the American Revolution, and they could use all the new ideas and inventions that they could get. I really believe the next revolution is going to be technological. We have advanced so far in the past 20 years in our technology. Our technology is always advancing. Right now, we are in an Apple, tablet, cell phone, computer, internet technology revolution. This one is soon going to end, though. It has lasted for over 50 years, and our ever-changing country is going to want something that is new and fresh. Let's take, for example, the cell phone and how it has evolved over the last 41 years. Now, there are a wide variety of cell phones, and each company has evolved differently than others. So we're going to go through just a few monumental strides of the cell phone.
Thank God it's Friday and it's 3 p.m. I'm steady glancing at the clock, it's almost time for the weekend. I grab my iPhone, post a status for my friends, send a text before the day's end, cause I ain't trying to stay in.
That is a lot of innovation in just 41 years, and I only showed a couple of the phones to the years. Every year since the first phone was invented, there has been a new model and make come out yearly since then. Our country has to move forward. As consumers, we seek for new innovations, and if we don't receive those new innovations, we become increasingly upset. I believe our country is moving on to another technological revolution. I would like to start off saying that the 3D printer has helped us in the medical field. Let's take a look at a specific event in which it specifically helped a person. A man by Stephen Power was from Cardiff, Wales. He was in a devastating motorcycle accident. He was wearing a helmet at the time, but it was just not enough. He shattered his entire jawbone, nose, and cranium. Power says, I can't remember the accident. I remember 5 minutes before and then waking up in the hospital a few months later. Power was submitted to Morrison Hospital in Swansea, Wales, after his accident. Lucky for him, he had innovative surgeons on his side who decided to use new technology and power. They wanted to try the 3D printer. With the CT scan, they received the dimensions of Power's face. With the 3D printer and the dimensions of his face, they printed a symmetrical 3D model of his cranium and face. They then cut down the mold with cutting guides and printed plans to reconstruct Power's face. His procedure lasted 8 hours. Power said, it's totally life-changing. I could see the difference straight away the day I woke up from the surgery. I'll be able to do day-to-day things, go to see people, walk on the street, even to any public areas. It was devastating, but the fact that this 3D printer could change this man's face and allow him to socialize with people is amazing. Let's see what the surgeon had to say. The surgeon said, without this advanced technology, it's freehand. You have to guess where everything goes, he said. The technology allows us to be far more precise and get a better result for the patient. He also says, I think it's incomparable. The results are in a different league from anything we've done before. As I watched the interview with the team that reconstructed Mr. Power's face, it was really cool to see the computer design major talk about his experience and role in the operation. He said it was amazing because he could be a part of a medical operation that he didn't even have any medical background for. He was just a graphic design major. To me, that is really cool, that we can combine art and science together because of the 3D printer. It will open endless job opportunities for art majors and allow people with a graphic design education to help people with their knowledge. Knowing that our future has that in store for our artists is a real joy. That makes me really look forward to our world's future. The job market will become more diverse, and people can learn skills that normally wouldn't put them in a position where they could help save people. But now, they can make something bigger and better out of their job. The surgeon involved explained that with 3D printing, they can plan out every step of the procedure. They can get a model of the broken part and then model of a healthy face/limb or whatever they're remodeling. And then they can go through the procedure and steps and how to make the broken part look healthy again. It's amazing that they can do that and that you can bring artists and different jobs together into science. It's just a really amazing process that this 3D printer has opened up for the medical field. Alright, folks, hold on to your seats because what I'm about to say may just blow your mind. The medical field is working on printing organs. For the medical field, the next big thing is printing organs. Yes, I said printing organs. Now, in several case studies, this has already been done. They have engineered airways, bladders, blood vessels, and urine tubes. They were successful in most studies. But what made them successful, you might ask? You can't put a foreign object in a body. Your body would reject it. What they do to solve the problem is astounding. They use a combination of cells and biomaterials to make them into the shape of the organ. Instead of using real ink, they use a combination of living cells and biomedical cells and put them into a cartridge, and the printer then makes the shape. Now, you can consider that these things have been done by hand because they can and they have been done. The scientists use a structure called a pipette, and they just place them in with a pipette. The 3D printer allows accuracy, though, something you don't get by hand. They allow the ability for the material and cells to be equally combined. The replacement tissue or organ can be designed on the computer using a patient's medical scans. The computer can then control the printer, and the cells are put in just the exact right place. This cannot be done by hand. You can't have an exact replica of a heart and the cell placement be exact if you do it by hand. So this is why a 3D printer is so monumental for even creating printed organs. The 3D printer also has the capability of using different biomaterials. Cells can be printed in gel-like substances, rigid scaffolds, or no scaffolds. The printer has already been used without infusing any cells at all. This was done at the University of Michigan to make an airway splint to save a young girl's life. Now, the other question you may be asking is, how will oxygen get to these biomaterial man-made engineered cells? So, let's take this. When any large or small structure is implanted in the body must accept the transplant. For this to happen, the organ/tissue has to incubate in the body to become fully functional. But the plan is that as the scaffolds decay, which is the biomaterial, the new cells will latch and form new tissues. So your body will essentially create a new organ, thus healing yourself. But these structures need oxygen, as every living thing does. The 3D printer will be used to create blood vessel cells and implant them into the structure, or oxygen-producing man-made materials will be placed into the scaffolds. So basically what's happening here is we're printing an organ, and your body is going to accept the organ, and once your body has accepted the organ, there will be cells attached to these biomaterial man-made organ. But your body will reform cells around it, and as the biomaterial decays, your body will transform and make a new organ. It's amazing that we can do that. Also, the Armed Forces Institute of Regenerative Medicine is actually the closest to being able to serve patients at this time. They are working on printing facial/bone/muscle implants, which we already talked about with the man before. They are also working on printing miniature livers so that they can drug test without using real humans or animals. They are also working on printing hearts, lungs, blood vessels, and livers into chips. The chips will be connected to blood substitutes, so the organ will be self-sustaining on its own. This will make drug testing faster because they won't have to use animals or people. I mean, think about this. They're going to make a self-sustaining organ by itself without a body form. And it's going to sustain itself so that they can test different drugs to see if it's safe for the liver, the heart, and things like that. This is beyond what we could ever imagine. It's truly revolutionary. It will change everything. And later in the discussion I will talk about what kind of effects this printer is going to have on our society. The 3D printer has the potential to change the world. Already, industries in the medical field are taking advantage of this newfound technology. The effect on the future will be extravagant. For the medical field, I could see this becoming a cure for cancer, leukemia, or any other deteriorating disorder. In the future, we have the ability to create new bones, skin, etc., anything with this 3D printer. Let's hypothetically say that a person has leukemia. They might be safe because maybe the cancer is all in their right arm bone. In the future, we can replace that. We can print a new arm that will be implanted into the body. The person's cells can attach to the structure, and once the biomaterial dissolves, the person's body will have already made a new arm. The possibilities are endless. The need for real organ donors will be gone. There will be no need to find a compatible blood type or organ donor because the 3D printer can specialize the organ just for your body. I even believe that one day in the far off future, we will be able to regenerate ourselves with this new technology. As I spoke of before, scientists are working on a way to regenerate skin for burn patients. I believe it will go beyond that though. If somebody gets cut or hurt, I believe in the far off future that people will have their own devices that they can use on themselves to heal themselves. The effects on the economy will be a plus too. The 3D printer will change industries. Everybody will want to buy a 3D printer. Money begins to circulate throughout the economy and it strengthens it. Toy industries, artists, architects will start manufacturing new inventions with the 3D printer. Already, a Dutch man has a plan to print a house. Yeah, I said print a house. There is currently a 3D printer big enough to do this. It is called the D-shape. The job market will shift and change. More people will need to be hired to operate these huge printers for these architects. Specialization and maybe even the assembly line will come back just because of this 3D printer. Industry has already started to change because of 3D printer, but I believe it can take us into amazing places. I can even begin to imagine what else the 3D printer will inspire us to create. I can't even imagine. Where might this take place, you might be asking? And, I really believe this revolution will happen in the United States and the UK. Because currently, we are the only countries who own a working 3D printer. We are the only ones experimenting with it at this time. So naturally, the revolution would hit our nations first. I believe it will spread across the world, though. The 3D printer is already beginning to help us make incredible studies. And will continue, and I believe other countries won't want to miss out on this great new opportunity. I mean, this thing is going to catch on like wildfire once people see the innovations and the new things we can create with this 3D printer. It's amazing, and it is definitely the next revolution. So we'll have to see how everything turns out, but I really do believe that this is our next revolution.